again, everybody. You ready for another chapter 2 with Madame? All right, chapter 38 in triplicate. Do you remember at the end of the last chapters? Oh yeah, they went to visit Charlie in the hospital, and he said that, you know, he loved her, and then she felt that she loved him too, and everything was kind of going to be okay. It was so nice. And then I was kind of wondering at the end of last chapter, like, okay, I feel like, you know, a lot of the emotional sides of things is kind of wrapped up a little bit nicely, but what about the whole Bigfoot thing? We'll see, I think, or I hope, in this chapter. Chapter 38, the title is In Triplicate. In Triplicate. All right. I am officially reinstating you as Bigfoot Detectives, Inc. employee, Tobin tells me that evening after the hospital. He pulls my assistant Bigfoot detective tag with a wad of Elmer's glue out of the drawer of the desk at the Bigfoot headquarters and pins it to my front. He stands back, cocks his head to the side, and puckers up his lips, checking to see if it's straight. Lemonade Liberty Wit, assistant Bigfoot detective. I touch the edge of the badge like it's gold. I can't believe that I'm admitting this, but I've actually missed the stupid thing pinned to my front. It makes me feel important and part of something big. Raise your right hand, he says, holding his hand high in the air. Oh, come on, is this really necessary? Of course it's necessary. I give him the biggest eye roll ever. I, Lemonade Liberty Wit, promise not to blab any top secret Bigfoot related matters, I repeat it, to any source, including all newspapers and TV reporters, corporate spies, and any and all naysayers while employed at Bigfoot Detectives, Inc. for eternity or longer. I repeat that too. And I will follow the lead of the Bigfoot Detectives, Inc. founder and president and stop asking so many questions. Come on, I drop my hand. He smiles. Okay, that's good enough, I guess. I'll type up the reinstatement paperwork tonight. I'll need it signed and sent back in triplicate. In what? In triplicate, he says. You know, one copy for you, one for me, and one for the files. Why do you have to make everything so hard? What's so hard about triplicate? Well, first off, it's a waste of time. Yeah, but it's the rules. Your rules. So, without rules, things would just run amok and then life would just be anarchy, a ruleless, leaderless society. And the next thing you know, you'll want to move the message pad. Anarchy. Do you want that? A little anarchy never hurt anyone, I tell him. Actually, anarchy has been the downfall of many societies. During the Neolithic period, okay, I hold up my hands, sensing one of his 20-minute lists coming my way. You win, I'll sign it in triplicate. He smiles again. He likes it when he wins. Or maybe he's just happy because everything is back to the way it was, the way it should be. I smile then too. A week after Charlie gets out of the hospital, everything is back to normal. Mostly. Charlie's almost all better except for the stitches sewn into his right eyebrow and the bandage taped over top of it to keep the germs out. Professor Malcolm is on his way from Idaho to give us the results from the test of the hair sample we sent him. He called Charlie last night to tell us that the local news wants to interview Tobin and me about our findings. That morning, I choose my yellow sundress with the tiny daisies, the one that Mama bought me for the trip to San Francisco Playhouse for her birthday last year. I carefully comb my hair and let my red curls hang loose down my back. Well, look at you, Charlie says when I come to the kitchen table. Don't you look like a shiny new penny? Thanks, Charlie. I stop and stare at Tobin. He is sitting at the kitchen table in a crisp, striped short-sleeved shirt with a clip-on polka dot tie and a long khaki pants with shiny brown dress shoes. His reddish-brown curls are parted on the side and slicked down into one big wave over his eyebrows. Minus one tan safari hat strapped tight under his chin. What happened to you? I ask, giggling behind my hand. Tobin sighs. My mother, he scowls. My mother happened to me. Charlie and I look at each other and laugh. Well, I think you look nice, I say, pulling out a chair. She took my hat, he pouts, shoveling in his seedy cereal. Yeah, I say, I noticed that first. And then we have another. Charlie closes the store for the afternoon to make sure there aren't any interruptions when the news people are filming. Even though the crew isn't scheduled until 3 o'clock, Professor Malcolm makes it to the store around 1:30. When Tobin sees that he's wearing a crisp shirt and a sports jacket, he finally wipes the scowl off his face. After we all say our hellos, we sit on the fluffy pillows around the fireplace. Kids, Professor Malcolm says, I wanted to let you know the results of the testing in person before the reporters get here. Oh my gosh, so exciting. Tobin looks like he's going to burst wide open and explode Tobin guts all over Bigfoot souvenirs and more. I want to remind him to breathe, but I figure it will come to him on his own at some point. Yes, Professor Malcolm, I swallow. First of all, the footprints you casted is extraordinary. It measures 15 3/4 inches, and there is a distinct mid-tarsal break. It's undeniable. Tobin and I look at each other again, and now I have to remind myself to breathe. And second, the fur sample you collected is not bear fur, he says. It is not elk or moose or anything hoofed. He pauses. What is it then? I finally exclaim. I can't identify it. Another pause. What does that mean, Professor Malcolm? Charlie asks. It means it doesn't match any known hair sample of common wildlife from the region, or elsewhere for that matter. It has some resemblances to human hair, but it has never been cut. What I can say with certainty is that it's an unknown primate species. Primate? Charlie asks. That's right, Professor Malcolm smiles. It's not fur. It's primate hair. Tobin looks at me. We did it, Lemonade! Tobin jumps up and starts hugging me. We did it! You see, their modus operandi is to hide, Tobin is telling Channel 4 News. Tell us more about that, Tobin, the woman reporter says, holding a microphone close to him. She's dressed fancy like the women in San Francisco, with high heels and a silk blue dress, and her hair is pulled back from her face with a shiny barrette on either side of her head. You see, they need to hide in this world, Tobin says, leaning his mouth real close to the microphone. Because they're different, and people choose not to understand those that are different, and can become cruel. I see, the woman says, and then looks at me. Why is it that you've become part of this? She asks, holding the microphone out to me. A man carrying the camera on his shoulder turns his large, round lens in my direction, and I start to feel hot. I start. We just want to prove this species exists. I look at Tobin out of the corner of my eye, and he nods. And to allow them to be protected so that they can live safely just as any other creature on Earth should, even if they are different. Tobin nods again. Because sometimes it's the differences that are Exactly what makes us special. I turn to Tobin, and he turns to me, and then he grins real big, and so does the news lady. Wonderfully put, Lemonade Liberty Wit, she says. The camera guy makes a circular gesture with his hand, and the lady nods to him. Thank you very much, Tobin, Lemonade, Charlie, and Professor Malcolm, for your time today. This is Jessica Samish with Channel 4 News and Bigfoot Detectives, Inc. in Willow Creek, California. Back to you in the Reading studio, Tom. End of chapter 38. Dun, dun, dun. That was a pretty good one. I am so excited that the hair they found isn't like, oh, just a bear or whatever. That's kind of cool. I'm just so curious to see what happens next. I think we'll read the next chapter. Chapter 39 is called Never Letting Go. That Sunday, Charlie decides to knock number 3 off my list of things he didn't used to know about me. The most embarrassing one. 3, I have never learned to ride a bike. There you go, Lemonade. You got it. You got it. That's Charlie hollering behind me while I'm pedaling down the street in front of the house. He has his hands on the silver bar on the back of my green and pink striped banana seat. He promised me he wouldn't let me go, and I believe him now more than ever. I also know for sure because I can hear him breathing real hard behind me as he tries to keep up with my pedaling. Tobin and Debbie are sitting in the cheering section located on the yellow porch swing. Look at you go, Lemonade, Debbie cheers. You're leaning too much to the right, Tobin hollers. I pedal until I reach the stop sign and turn the silver handlebars to the left, making a shaky U-turn, and begin pedaling back towards the cheering crowd. Lucky for me, Charlie is still there to keep me vertical. Can I let go now? Charlie asks, huffing and puffing. Only if you want lemonade splatter all over the pavement, I holler back at him. You can do this on your own. I know you can, he shouts. I take a deep breath. You promise? I ask. I promise. Okay, now. I throw over my shoulder. Do it now. I don't feel him let go, even though I know he does. At first I wiggle a little, trying to find a new balance without him. And then I'm pedaling, and I'm steering, and I'm doing it all by myself. Me! I can hear Charlie yelling from behind me, I told you, look at you go. I made it all the way back up the street and turned into the driveway, stopping next to Jake and moving the kickstand out with my tennis shoe. Charlie is jogging to catch up. You did it! Didn't I tell you? He smiles big. Not a scratch on you, and no lemonade splatter on the pavement either. I can ride a bike, I tell him, holding up my arms in victory. He wraps his big arms around me, picks me up, and bear hugs me. I bury my face in his checkered shirt. He smells like Irish Spring soap and coffee beans and Old Spice cologne. I know it's a smell I'll never forget, just like Mama and her strawberry suave. Thanks, Charlie. Grandfather, I whisper into his shoulder. He doesn't say anything, but I know he hears it because he squeezes me even tighter. So cute. That night, in celebration of my great accomplishment, Charlie takes me, Tobin, and Debbie to dinner at the Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips, all the way in Reading. We toast my achievement with root beer floats for dessert. Debbie probably would have ordered strawberry ice cream for her float if they had it, but they don't. When we all have our floats, Charlie pushes his chair out and stands up. To lemonade, Charlie holds his Arthur Treacher's cup high in the air. Tobin, Debbie, and I raise our cups high in the air too. To lemonade, Debbie cheers. To lemonade, Tobin repeats. And to those who should be here with us, celebrating on this fine evening, Charlie goes on. To Elizabeth, Rebecca, and Scotty, wherever you may be, we know you are all here with us tonight and in our hearts forever. Hear, hear, Debbie exclaims. Where? Tobin asks, looking around. No, Tobin, it just means I agree, Debbie explains. Oh, hear, hear, then, he shrugs. I laugh. Let's all share one thing we miss about them. I look at Debbie and then at Charlie. They both nod in agreement, and Charlie sits back down. I point to Tobin. You start. He's in the middle of taking a big gulp of his float, and when he comes up for air, he has a foamy mustache. I miss my dad reading to me before bed. He always read me something about cryptozoology. He knew everything about it, even more than me, if you can believe it. He takes another big gulp. Debbie, I say, your turn. Okay. I miss his kindness. He always practiced the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Charlie? I point in his direction. Oh boy, let's see. I miss everything about your grandmother. One thing, well, I guess I could pick her gardening. She used to have the most beautiful gardening in town. Yes, she did, Debbie smiles. It was filled with flowers, every color you can imagine. There wasn't a day that went by when she didn't have a vase of flowers on our kitchen table, except for the winter, of course. I think about Mama and her daisies on our kitchen counter, and wish I could have met my grandmother. I bet Mama was the spitting image of her. Okay, Lemonade, your turn, Charlie says to me. I think real hard about which thing to share about Mama. I know she's right here, right now, and I know she's happy. We have each other to share our memories. Hear, hear, Tobin hollers, raising his float again. Hear, hear, we all say. And that is the end of chapter 39. I'm so glad that they're kind of starting to unpack all that emotional stuff that they were kind of struggling with and had a bit of tension with. Kind of in the beginning and the middle of the book. It makes me glad that they're starting to process some of their emotions and share what's, on their minds and on their hearts. That makes me feel really good. I am still super curious to know what's going to happen with this whole Bigfoot situation. We've got, I think, about 10 or 11 chapters left, something like that. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. But for now, we're going to take a little break, and I will see you again soon for the next chapter of Lemons. Bye.